Alrighty. Stream is starting up. Looks like excellent connection. Today I'm going to do some more Star Citizen Radio, listening to Space Tomato again as he talks to Black Maze Racer. I recorded that today, so it's not live, but I'm going to listen to that while I haul some Quantanium. Maybe go do some regular hauling and maybe a bounty or two. Alright, let's get it started with Keenan and Black Maze.
Way back, I'm 33.
Oh, I have to start it over.
Hello friends, welcome to episode 29 of the Launch Sequence podcast. I'm your host, Keenan. I'm not in my tomato form right now, but you can also call me Space Tomato if you'd like. And with me, I have Black Maze, a avid racer and a newcomer to Star Citizen this year. How you doing, man?
What's up? I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. I'm pumped for the chat today. We're actually gonna talk a little bit about racing, but I'm going to be nosy and we're gonna dig into your history with Elite Dangerous and why you came over to Star Citizen and how it's been treating you since then. But first,
Elite
I kind of want to hear
Dangerous.
about games outside of Star Citizen. What are you?
I tried that game for like a minute.
I got a very important question for you, though.
Okay.
Is it Space Tomato or Space Tomato?
Well, I like to leave it up to the person. You know, everybody's a little different. There is
That's
a
a
right
good
way,
answer.
but I'll let people figure that out.
Now, is it Mr. Space or Mr. Tomato?
Oh, definitely Mr. Tomato.
Mr.
All right, there you
Tomato.
go. Mr.
I love your logo.
Mr.
Your
Space
avatar.
is
It's
my
awesome.
dad.
Thank you. Yeah, it took a while to come about, but I really like how it came out. Clueless tomato floating in space. I mean, what are you gonna do? You're a tomato, right?
Dude,
Oh, wrong
it's,
bang.
it's awesome. Anyway, I'm already derailing. You were asking.
Oh
Sorry.
no, it's fine. It's fine.
5.
That's why we're here. We love to
See if
derail.
I can pick up a
I was
present.
asking about other games that you play outside of Star Citizen. You
Up
do
in my right
racing
corner,
stuff,
I have
you into
another
FPS,
account
RPGs.
picking
like,
up gifts
what are you playing?
for
So,
no real reason.
It's something I find really difficult to answer
Since I
because
picked the wrong
find that
bay.
I'm one of those guys that doesn't play multiple games easily at the same time. It's like I end up like pushing everything into one game. And obviously coming to Star Citizen, it has been that Star Citizen. But
I wonder if people have gotten bored of these gifts. I haven't seen any
2042
competition, quote
because
unquote.
you know it's the new thing. Been enjoying it, even though it's a little buggy at the moment. But it's been good fun. And to do some more racing, I've also done Forza Horizon 5, which has been a lot of fun.
I only have one
You know,
Refinery order.
Arcade racing.
I take the car because I don't want to get blown up on the pad.
So that's been fun. I do love, you know, a good action RPG. I've done World of Warcraft as an MMORPG.
Good old
you know,
World of
Star Wars
Warcraft.
Galaxy,
Man,
Star
never
Wars
play it
Old
again.
Republic. I love the KOTOR games. I love a good single player game. So it's
You missed
very,
the
it
KOTOR.
varies. I like a lot of things, and I like to focus a lot of energy on one game, which is yeah, that at the moment.
How is Horizon treating you? I haven't gotten to play, but I've always loved the series, and I've heard really good things about this one.
I didn't hit
You're
close.
talking Forza, right?
Yeah, Forza Horizon.
So the last Forza game I played was Forza 2 on the Xbox 360 many moons ago.
Okay.
And
Wild.
Back in the day.
Yeah, that's old. So I had a couple of friends, specifically Osashas, who I race with in Star Citizen as well. He and his brother were playing Forza Horizon 5, and they were saying that it's a lot of fun. It's an open world game, and I was like, you know what? If you're racing in it, I'm gonna come and join you. So I did, and it's a lot of fun. It's this. Most people that know me won't be surprised when I tell you that the thing I find most interesting about it is the fact that you can build your own tracks, because you know that's what I like to do.
I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
it's
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, they have their traditional performance index system, you know, with A, B, C, D, R, and whatever for cars. And then instead of just tarmac racetracks, you've got a big open world, kind of like GTA 5.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I daren't say if it's the same size. It might be similar, but they've done some things really well. Traction, the suspension, just their simulation side of the game with how they kind of balance their cars and how grip varies between tires and terrain textures and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. I've been enjoying it. It's good fun to race around. I've got my girlfriend playing as well, so we get to have some fun with that together.
I gotta hop on that. I haven't had a lot of time recently, but we have Game Pass. We've got an Xbox. Like, I need to get that downloaded because those games have always been so much fun, and people were people were calling for Game of the Year nominations for it. I don't think it got
It won one.
But
It did.
It won
Sound design?
yeah, it
Something.
won something.
Chat.
But people were saying it should get that top award.
Well, I'm waiting for
this year.
shields to come
Right.
up.
Which
Right.
would be crazy
These
to
are
see
popping
a
up
racing
pretty
game
fast
do that.
today.
But the fact that people were asking for it, you know, it's already a good series. I can't imagine this one could be anything less than a knockout. So I'm excited to jump into it.
This account is getting close to 1 million.
As
It
with
had
all
like
games,
100,000.
there are
I'm at
some things that they need to work
900,000.
on.
Mhm.
It's
All
very,
gifts.
at the moment, the networking is buggy. I understand that when you're in the open world, it's peer-to-peer, the same way Elite Dangerous does that. And
It is monotonous.
It is as unreliable as Elite Dangerous in that aspect.
I see.
But then when you go racing with friends, it usually works because you get put into a server. But then sometimes you will see all your friends just standing around not driving. So it does have some
Got
early
some
bugs.
problems. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think any Star Citizen player is going to have a problem with that.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true.
I really like the AI they do in those games. The Drivatar AI, I think, is like industry leading. And I was talking to a friend about this earlier this year, but just the idea that they have this AI that learns from you and then can like tweak your personality to challenge you in different ways. That's the kind of stuff that I would love to see in something like Star Citizen, really. That AI is one of those things that I really hope we start to see bigger leaps in the next few years, maybe in the next decade, because it's always kind of felt lacking. Like, we had great AI that we were playing against 20 years ago, and it doesn't feel like we've come very far since then.
Whoa.
Forza's always done a great job with that.
Whoa.
So to respond first to the first part of that question, because it's interesting that you mentioned the Drivatar bit, because I haven't put a lot of thought into it, but I did mention, like, dude, the AI in this game is really good. You know, in those racing games, like take Gran Turismo or whatever, the AI, they drive on a rails and they just follow their trajectory. They don't kind of account for where you are or what you're doing or whether you're, you know, trying to outbrake them or whatever.
Yeah.
And I noticed in Forza that it is actually very responsive, like, to what you're doing. If you're taking the inside line, it will stay wide and stuff like that. So that did very much impress me. And to your second part, so when I started playing Star Citizen, that was 3.13. I guess apart from the FPS AI, I've never experienced space AI in Star Citizen, and that's something we used to have, right? There used to be ships flying around.
Yeah, you don't experience
My
ships.
name's not on the ship.
AI ships?
Oh, there it is. Back
Or
here.
you mean outside of missions?
Yes, outside of missions, of
Okay.
course, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So, excuse me, of course, not talking about bounty hunting or something like that, where, of
Right.
course, there are other ships, but just, you know, in the open world, if you will, other ships flying about, doing their business. We don't have that yet, but we did have that, didn't we?
I don't believe so. Unless I'm drawing a weird blank right now.
I feel like I've heard people saying there were, like, ships flying around stations, docking and undocking, but I don't know, maybe...
Not yet.
Usually they're just players. I mean, maybe they were very bad.
Yeah, they're bad players.
pilots.
Could have been me.
I don't know.
Well, anyway, so I hear what you're saying. Definitely, if we could get
Trying not to
AI
use
like
auto
that
dock.
as well
Yeah.
in Star Citizen, that would be awesome. And of course, for combat as well, that would be super cool.
Yeah. I mean, I will take the most basic fly from quantum travel to station AI right now. Like you're saying, just to have some ships flying around. Hopefully that's not too far away with some of the optimizations we're seeing. But since we're on the topic already, why don't we jump a little bit into the space games? First though, let's start with Elite Dangerous. So when and how did you get into Elite?
Right, so I have been playing Elite Dangerous since the start. Not the actual start, but like a month after.
Okay.
And this was Elite in its very bare bones state, of course, with very little things to do. And over time,
Why
the game
won't that roll
progressed. We got
down anymore?
horizons, and you know, we would be able to go down to planets, and I had so much fun with that. And
Can I
just
ask-
looking forward. Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question? There was an update when I used to play the game. This was probably 2016, 2017 time. I think Horizons was around that time, right? Wasn't it right before then?
Yeah, I know Horizons dropped in 2016. I don't know when.
Yeah. I think there was another update shortly after that, and it was focused on people. And it
I
had
love how
some
the doors
name
don't
like,
open until you're almost there now.
I don't remember what it was called, but it was focused on like they were bringing in a group of people into the game that was going to make a big difference. I don't remember. Do you recall an update like that?
Yeah, sure. So are you talking about the engineers update where you would be able to go to these contacts?
I don't remember if it was. I know the engineers came in around that time. I don't remember if that was it, but regardless, that was a segue. Continue.
So for me, actually, it kind of leads into my experience with Elite, because I had so much fun with Horizons, and I kind of really wanted them to expand Horizons. You know, we only had planets without atmospheres and a very limited amount of settlement types and stuff you could do around them.
Mm-hmm.
So I always imagined, okay, this is going to be their platform to build on. But then they did the engineers update, which meant lots of grinding to unlock these blueprint schematics and kind of get your ships more advanced. But it was so much grinding that's not the way I enjoyed playing Elite Dangerous. It demanded too much that it kind of...
Why do I have a corpse?
...steered me away, so I was gone.
I haven't died this game
time.
session.
I should say I was already doing some racing, because there is... And this was just by complete chance. I was browsing Reddit, I think, and there was an update coming out for the Imperial Eagle, and there was this group of people who were going to do racing, and they were calling themselves the Elite Racers, and they were on Reddit, because this was before, you know, there was like Discord. It was a TeamSpeak server, and it was
TeamSpeak.
Back in the day.
Back in the day.
Yeah, that's right.
So
I joined them for this race, and I stuck around and I did some ship racing with them. But then came engineers, and I took a big break. And then I came back, I don't even remember when, I want to say a year and a half ago, and I started actually hosting my own races. Then Odyssey came out. I was utterly disappointed for many reasons we could go into if you wanted to. But in short,
we all know.
I wanted to see if there was something else, and... would you know it, there's Star Citizen.
Okay. So during the time that you were playing, before you ran into the guys
check
with
the other account.
The Elite Racers, what were you generally doing in the game? Like, what was it that drew you into the game to play? Was it mining or just flying around, or what exactly were you doing during that time?
So my first thing that I spent a lot of time with was the bounty hunting, which was very similar to how we do it in Star Citizen. The only thing is you don't accept a mission, but you just go out into like a zone where there's lots of lots of NPCs,
mm-hmm.
and you scan them and you see if they have bounties, and then you go and kill them. Right. And that was the thing I did first. And then I had this period that I would always come back to mining, because it was this very, people call it really monotonous and like really boring, and I actually really enjoyed it specifically for that reason. Like, I'd put music on and I'd just be like spending like 3 or 4 hours just mining away in the evening. Mm-hmm. It's like mindless, like just relaxing.
Yeah.
So it's like spending time out in the black, and I would really imagine that I had this whole ship behind me with my, you know, my ship interior that isn't a thing in Elite, where you could just, you know, I had my home with me. I was just mining away in my RV, if you will.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was that and racing, I guess. I just loved exploring the worlds. You obviously have 1-to-1 scale worlds in Elite Dangerous, and they had their Stellar Forge, which spit out all the different planets, and it was just cool to go and see what you could find, even in the civilized bubble, not even out into the black, but just finding different worlds and seeing all the things that you could find.
A long way to the refinery
with their SRV Scarab, or fly through canyons, stuff like that. So it was a combination of exploration, mining, and just combat to kind of, yeah, have some fun with that.
The whole grouping, just a little bit of everything, living in space.
For sure, yeah. This for me, it started way back. Star Wars Galaxies, that they came out with the Jump to Lightspeed DLC. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
No, I didn't really follow Star Wars Galaxies that much.
So I was I was young. I don't know. Was I like 14 or 15?
Good to have you back.
I think, when I was playing Star Wars Galaxies, because this is already way back. I'm 33. And so I was playing that, and then they came out with Jump to Lightspeed, which meant space gameplay.
Right.
The cool thing was they literally, and this is, I don't know what year it was, but it was a long time ago, and they had ship interiors. So you could literally get out of your pilot seat and you could walk inside of your ship, and you could have your friends on board with you, and they could be repairing modules while you're doing combat and stuff like that.
Yeah, I just don't trust.
It kind of triggered
my Quantanium motor.
Oh my god, I want to live
in anything else.
I have my own home
Especially
and
something
space.
that can't go in a hangar.
This is so cheesy. I've told this story before, so I'm no longer embarrassed by it. But
Sitting on a freelancer on the pad for no reason.
That, like, when it was time to go to bed, I would log out. I still lived at home with my parents. I would log out of my ship, and I would go to bed just imagining that my room was like my ship. It's very cheesy.
Dude, that is not cheesy
That is
at
not
all.
cheesy
I
at
bet
all.
people do that all the time.
More people do that than you
dude,
imagine.
still, right? I know.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
that's-
sure people relate to this.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Oh yeah.
you're naming probably the top reason why people come to Star Citizen. And that probably, I think, I like the way that leads into the next question, which was, did you hear during all of this time, did you ever hear about Star Citizen?
So I knew of Star Citizen and Elite at the same time. You know, I knew of the two projects. And I was always excited for Star Citizen. I've never been on the... You know how there's two camps, right? Everybody talks about it. You've got people that are playing Elite Dangerous that don't like Star Citizen, and I'm sure it's vice versa. I've never been like that. I've always been interested in both. But for me, it was always like, okay, Star Citizen is this project that is so, you know, it's under development. I'm not interested in walking around in a hangar with ships that can't fly and stuff like that. So I'll look at it from a distance. My brother was very excited for it, and in the meantime, I'm playing Elite. But Elite was always that game where you didn't have ship interiors, and you know, it was always that thing where I wanted more than it would give.
Exactly. Oh no, commercial.
Okay. So Star Citizen was kind of that sort of it just never proved itself, really. It never put itself in a position where it could show that it was doing any of the stuff that was going on in that time.
I think it was, yeah, for sure.
This is
I think
boring,
back when I was
but
playing Elite, Star Citizen
my secondary
wasn't doing
count.
it yet. You know, it was all, you know,
It has one
I'm not
cheap
100%
ship.
on the development speed.
The Rock
of Star
doesn't make
Citizen
money
before I
like
started playing because I
fall
didn't
asleep
look at
rock
it that
mining.
closely. But I just know that when Odyssey came out, this is Elite Dangerous Odyssey.
And judging by how
on the settlement,
many gifts I'm getting, I don't think anybody's doing this
I
anymore.
would be like, dude,
I think people have
how
gotten
did they
bored,
not do ship
or
interiors?
everyone's
Like,
at work.
It's cool being able to walk around the settlement, but I want to be in my ship. And again, it was my buddy Osashis who was looking at Star Citizen a little closer than myself. He'd already pledged, and he was flying around in it, and he was saying, like, dude, it's actually starting to turn into a game now. You know, you can actually be in this persistent universe, and there is gameplay out there. And he showed me a few things, and I looked at some videos, and I was like, you know what, maybe I should give this a try.
Yeah.
Okay, that's enough.
It's to be honest, it's been, I think a lot of people would actually say they haven't noticed much change in the last like 2 years. There have been some pretty significant changes, but
if you've been playing, there's been a lot of changes. But if you haven't been playing,
I'd say like the last 2 years or so have been the time in which you could come in and spend a few hours and get something out of it. I think really in the last year and a half or so, it's gotten so much more visibility, especially with like you're saying, Elite Dangerous, the Odyssey release, kind of having people a little salty.
For sure. I think it's interesting that you mentioned that you feel like Star Citizen has had the same sort of gameplay elements for quite a while already. Because then it makes me question as well, like, why did I never look at it closer before? I find that hard to answer. I'm not sure. I guess I
where
was
am I gonna take this?
content with Elite and at the same time hopeful for Odyssey. And only when that didn't deliver what I was expecting did I start looking elsewhere.
I'm not sure who gives the best
I
price
guess
on
it was,
Contanium. I may have to
there
check
were a lot of times last year. I remember specifically this day where like 3 separate people in 3 different situations, at least they didn't all say the same thing on the same day, but I saw the comment in all these places saying that Elite Odyssey was going to kill Star Citizen.
I usually take
and
it
so I think a lot of people were kind of
new methods, but
at this point
I
where
might
they're
just take
sitting
it down
and
to
seeing, is this actually like,
take it down
are the
to
games going to reach
Lorville.
parity here where I can now say I don't ever need to pay attention to Star Citizen, or should I give it a try? And it seems like a lot of people after that were a little more open to branching out.
Yeah, I feel you. I think both games are doing something
Or
different.
if I can even see my
It's
cargo.
not the same. Star Citizen
Most of the time, I can't see the cargo
balls
from
deep.
the refinery.
It's going so deep.
In the
Yeah,
Carrack,
it's-
anyway.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I think Elite Dangerous is doing a lot of cool things, but it is still relatively limited in what you can do. It's always that interesting topic of it's got this massive universe with all the random,
I don't see anything.
proc gen stuff, but it is seeing the same thing everywhere, and that's the cool thing. I think something I misjudged coming to Star Citizen is I was like, dude, it's gonna feel so small because for now there's only one star system.
Yeah, Elite's way bigger.
Yeah, but it isn't though, because there's more in one
Never
star
see the
system
cargo
than there are in 10 in Elite, right? Because you've got all this handcrafted stuff, and there's just more to do in a smaller space, which makes the smaller space feel larger.
Mm-hmm.
It's all like, relative to
yeah, it's kind of like if you went into an Assassin's Creed game, you wouldn't say, oh, there's nothing in this game, look at how small the area is. It's about what they use that space for. So that's a good point. And it's funny too, because a lot of people already talk about how empty it is. Now, obviously, I don't think either of us are sitting here saying this is a complete content in the system, but I think you do have a good point that many people focus on. I don't know if you've heard about it, but this original statement of 100 systems and how that's going to be part of the game, and that is a very, very strong sticking point for a lot of people when they look at this game, because they say we're never going to reach that. This game's never going to be that big. How am I ever going to get into exploration if everything is so small?
Through Gallic right
and as
now,
you're saying, there's a lot of space in a single star system. They could do a lot with it.
We're going to take it to...
I definitely get the concern, right? Because...
Microtech or 18.
For those that don't know, when I came to Star Citizen, I was so impressed by what I saw on many levels that I was like, oh my god, I need to share this with people. You're completely oblivious to what other people are already doing, completely oblivious to how there was already a lot of coverage on all these ships and all these planets, and I was like, okay, I just feel like sharing my own story. So I did this controversially titled video series called Why Play Elite.
Yeah, and I saw that.
it was genuinely my question, because my YouTube has always been kind of a Dear Diary thing where I'm just doing what I like to do. I'm putting videos out about the thing that I'm passionate about at that point in time. So for me to do a series called Why Play Elite was literally a reflection of my internal thought process. I was going over why the hell would I play Elite if I can do the same thing and more in Star Citizen. And yes, of course, it is a product in development, and some would say in development for too long and feature creep and all these things. I know, I'm not oblivious or naive to all these things, but Star Citizen is able to give me a feeling that I've been chasing in Elite Dangerous. So I did this video series and I lost my point. I was going somewhere with this, but I don't remember.
You make a good point. It's something that you were chasing. You originally talked about in Elite Dangerous how you wanted to be able to, as cheesy as it is, finish off your day and go to sleep in the bed in the ship. And
that's it.
That's something you can't do if you're playing as a spaceship. And it's a small thing. It's a really small thing, but it makes a huge difference for people who are looking for these kinds of games, because it's never really been a possibility.
Think about Lorville, you can just jump right back up to...
You guys had gameplay similar in Star Wars Galaxies, but even then, I'm sure the situation was a bit different.
I should go fill up on some diamonds or something.
Yeah, and it's true, because people have said on my videos...
I'm not greedy.
They said... Yeah, but dude, you're just running from an elevator door to another door to get in your ship. You're just spending 15 seconds waiting and 15 seconds waiting there. But it's the immersion it gives you, right? It makes the picture complete. It paints the whole thing. Yeah, so for me, it's worth it. It obviously depends on what you're looking for in a game, but I enjoy it.
Like you said, there are two games going in different directions, both doing different things very well, in my opinion. I have always been blown away by the scale of Elite Dangerous, and I hope they continue to double down on that. I think Elite Dangerous may be the better game for somebody who likes exploration gameplay. We won't know for a while, but there is still plenty of reason to play that game, and I hope that nobody who gets into a conversation or even hears about people like yourself who have switched games assume that means that Elite Dangerous is dead or anything like that.
For sure, and I remember where I was going with this. I did the Why Play Elite series, and in one of the videos I spent time looking at Stanton as a star system, and I compared what Elite is doing to how Star Citizen plans to do it, and I wasn't exactly sure. You just mentioned it's set to launch with 100 systems, and there's been different promises, I believe, and I am too very curious as to what their actual plan is. I'm convinced they will be releasing extra star systems over time, and I am also curious how is exploration going to look in this game. And the biggest pet peeve I had with Star Citizen at the beginning is the fact that planets and thus also the star systems are not sized to scale.
Yeah.
They are, I think it's 1/6 or something like that.
Yeah, the distances I believe are 1/4, and then the sizes are.
I think it's 1/6, 1/8.
I don't want those to be for sure things, but distances and sizes are a little bit different.
So initially, again, it's the same thing as going back to, it doesn't matter how large or small it is, if there's enough to do in it, it'll still feel large. And I have experienced the same with Star Citizen because, again, I went into it thinking, oh dude, this is going to feel way too small. But then you spend some time on a Daymar or whatever, Tiny Moon, I think the thing is like 400 if you circumnavigate the whole thing, it's like 400 kilometers or something, if that. And it still feels very large. I kind of that took my concern away, and I'm okay with that. The only thing now that kind of bothers me that I hope they change in the future is the fact that it also means, and this is a personal preference, this might be different for other people, it means that rotation speed for planets are really short, really fast, which means that, for example, when we're doing our racing, you only get about an hour and a bit of daylight in one location, which is a problem for player events because I am rushing people like mad to make sure we get to do our event before the sun sets, and that's a bit of a painful thing. I get it, it adds some dynamics to the game, someone spending a little time in one location will be able to experience daylight and nighttime, which is great, but it also makes it difficult if you're depending on doing something that might take a little longer for which you want daylight. Now I get it, this is a very specific, unique thing that I, as a sort of event organizer, run into, but it also kind of then, from a realism sort of standpoint, it kind of rubs me the wrong way. It's like, days are just too short.
I think it's a great point, because I think it's less of a niche problem than you said, because I already run into that when I was filming different stuff, cinematics. I know people have problems with that with machinima. People who want to run missions during the nighttime, who maybe are setting up the mission while it's still dark, but then suddenly the sun comes up and it's day. That is tough. But
yeah, it's true.
What if this actually opened up the possibility for us to now have planets and moons that had slower rotation speeds, which led to just naturally more popular places that people go for, like races and stuff. Like maybe now there will be a planet that is, because it has such a slow rotation speed or it's so big, it's
it doing?
Almost
won't turn off.
In an emergent fashion created that profile for itself. That could be kind of cool.
What the hell is Com doing?
And that happened in Elite Dangerous all the time.
I almost wrecked.
I even got to a point where I hosted championships. So this was like a championship that would span like half a year. There would be like 12 races. And I would specifically hunt locations or planets that were tightly locked to their sun to ensure that I could, for example, if I had like this really cool canyon that we would race through, that canyon was permanently lit by the sun because, again, the planet was tightly locked, which meant that the same face was always facing the sun. And yeah, it would be cool to have the variety, as you mentioned. Some planets could rotate faster and some might rotate a little slower.
Oh boy,
moon, obviously,
this is funky.
I'm talking about tightly locked planets, but that means that the planet has to orbit the sun, whereas a moon orbits
I was trying to right-click it, I guess.
planet, which then orbits the sun. So tightly locked moons don't mean anything because they'll just be like our own moon, tightly locked to the Earth. For
Very
example,
annoying when you want to
which
call
means
ATC and they won't
nothing for
stop
daylight.
talking.
So that's kind of like those dynamics are awesome. I just think right now everything just rotates a little too fast, and of course I'm sure they'll do work here because right now even
I didn't think
planets
about
orbit, right,
rotation.
the whole Stanton is fixed in place. It's like frozen.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see where they'll take that in the future.
Yeah, they've got some work to do there. I'm going to answer two of the things that you brought up earlier, and then I'm going to ask you a little bit about how your opinions of Star Citizen and the experience overall has changed or treated you in the last 6 months since you joined. So first, to go back to what you had said before, the 100 system thing. This was a statement they had made when the game was first announced. When, I don't know if you've heard about the big shift. That came with Planet Tech?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So back then, before they knew that they were going to do Planet Tech, they had this idea.
I'm not
of
brave
doing
enough to
100 star
land
systems.
in the first person.
Already pretty crazy, honestly. Don't know if I don't think they would have been able to do it anyways, but they wanted to do star systems that were essentially, think of Mass Effect. You've played Mass Effect, right?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
So like,
What am I hanging up
it's
on?
Mass
like
Effect.
Come
I
on.
just assumed that. But yeah.
I mean, there's a pretty big cross section of Star Citizen and Mass Effect.
Yes. Dude, I've played those games. I mean, honestly, I must have played them all 10 times at least.
Yeah, they're worth it. Great games. Even
Oh my
Andromeda is
God.
worth
I
playing.
really don't
Might
like
not be the
landing
best
in this
Mass
game.
Effect, but it's
I
fun.
loved
I don't know how
I loved the
Axton
whole
gets in there so
exploration aspect
easily.
and, like, building up the planets. Anyway, I'm derailing.
But let's take that into account. In Andromeda or Mass Effect 2, I think it is, where you actually navigate your ship around the system, but when you get to a planet, just a cutscene, and then boom, you're on the landing zone. So that's kind of what they wanted to do at first, and they actually had a couple concept videos of this already happening. And then they discovered Planet Tech. They were like, okay, we're gonna completely change what we're doing with the game. Are you guys down for this? And like a certain amount of the community said no, most of the community said yes. So the scope massively expanded, and planets were never the same. I think that was really the point at which they should have come out and said, we are not doing 100 systems like this. It's not going to happen, because they've now been in this situation where that's maybe they have, honestly. I don't actually know. But they've gotten into this.
I don't think they have.
Yeah, so they've gotten into this situation where I think most people who see what they're doing, looking at the planets and the systems and the work they're putting into it, realize that launching with 100 systems would make no sense at all. And so at this point, while they haven't put out a
Jeez, look how far I gotta
goal,
run.
I think that 100 systems is what they eventually aim to do. You know, whether that be 10 years from now, 15, 20 years, however long the game lasts, I think they could do that. But for launch, I think
It's
most
a mile
people, and myself
away.
included, are assuming that they're aiming for maybe 5, possibly a few more systems, and then just kind of, you know, drop them in patches, whether that be every quarter or every other quarter or whatever it
There's
is.
presents in front of me.
So that's kind of where the 100 systems things came from. The exploration aspect of the game, I mean, if you don't mind, I'll give you my 2 cents on what I think of exploration
Grab
in
this
this
present
game
real
so
quick.
far.
Yeah,
But-
dude, and I just want to say, I think you do a really good job putting it in perspective, because I'm learning things as you're mentioning this. I did not know I understood the shift, like you mentioned it, and I thought it was really cool that they've done this. And thinking about it
look,
now, I can
presents.
see how they might change that goal of how many
I don't have a
systems there will
backpack
be.
on.
They should have said something when they first shifted directions.
Oh, this is tedious with a backpack.
But yeah, it's essentially just way more work for a system now than it ever would have been. But for exploration, I always consider it to be more of
Oh
your
my
resource acquisition, or at least resource like location. You know, you're exploring a system to find derelict ships that have been crashed and
Look, this is gonna
burned from the
take
inside
forever.
out or whatever. Maybe have an alien on board. I don't know. You're looking for the space
Supplement
station
my-
that is derelict, yet there's a pirate squad camping in there. You're looking for the mining field that
Oh my
has a
God.
ton of quantanium, but maybe it's at the bottom of a fissure that has a huge volcano next to it. I
Put
don't
on
know.
a backpack.
Just naming like
I should just
very
put on a
unique kind of
backpack.
situations that they
You know
can
what?
take the
I'm putting
tools
on a
they're making,
backpack.
like derelict ships, like caves, like outposts, like stations, and then allowing explorers to find those things so that they can save that data and send it on to their salvagers, miners, security, whoever wants it. I also think there's going to be like the big things, you know, maybe jump point mapping and stuff like that. But I think that the idea that people have for exploration in Star Citizen may be a little bit more grand in scale than what they're going to be able to do with this game.
I have
That's
both
just my
accounts
opinion.
doing
I
this
don't know
now.
if that's how it's going to be, but I do think that
I feel like no one's picking up these presents
looking for
now.
resources will be a big part of it.
They've gotten bored.
Yeah, you shine a really interesting light on this. I've always wondered the same in terms of, because the only comparison I can make is Elite Dangerous and how that's, you know, very grand in terms of you're going light years, hundreds, thousands of light years to the other side of the galaxy to see what planets you can find.
They're everywhere. It's full.
And in a way that is also limited, where, you know, another system might have a different set of planets and facts, but you're doing the same thing over and over again.
Did I go get it for this
like
account or bring the
large,
other
it's
account over
massive.
here?
And so to bring
somebody's
that back
been through
to
here.
Star Citizen scales, what does
They
that
didn't go
look
down
like?
here, though.
I think you paint a really interesting picture. I can very well imagine that you are very right.
I mean, I'm about to make a couple $100,000
what I
off
hope
of.
they do is they get real specific with the different things we can find. I mean, they can't spend too much time on it, but I really do hope that they create these amazing set pieces that we can find. Problem is,
we're
once
talking about CIG here. I mean, honestly, my friend Osasha says the same thing every time as well. Whenever we're discussing a feature, whatever it is, and we're wondering how wide and how deep is it going to be, and the answer is always the same. We're talking CIG. Of course, it'll be massive.
Yeah. The problem is
I gotta stop.
Once one person finds
This
it,
is not fun to watch somebody pick up presents.
it's all over
It's
the
not
place,
fun to do.
And
the money's
I
nice,
guess
but
if,
it's not
if we're spread out enough as a
fun.
community, then maybe it won't happen like that. Kind
Several
of like
hours
how
of this on the
there are
weekend,
tons
the
of
saving
people who have
accounts
no idea
sometime.
what Benny Henge is still, even
If
though it's
rock
one of the
mining was
only places
working
that
well,
you can actually find that's
I wouldn't be
interesting in the
doing
game.
this.
So it could still work out, but it'll be interesting to see how they test it.
Okay,
There you
I'm
go.
done. I'm gonna pick up
it's,
this.
It's a landmark in.
Oh, I about
I won't
died.
spoil it
That
for
would
you, but
suck
it's a
if I had
landmark in the game
died.
around one of the planets, and it's literally a bunch of
Somebody would get my
Benny's,
stuff for free.
vending machines, the little noodle things, stacked up like Stonehenge. So they're all stacked up in there in like
I
a
really
weird
need to
circle,
quit.
and
What
it's,
the hell?
it's
Why is this
creepy,
not-
but it's also really cool. And it's just something
funny,
for people to
but,
find.
For me, like, that's meme stuff, right?
Right.
I
That's
feel like I
not-
picked up like
that's
15 of
not
these
like
already.
If I'm going
I wasn't even counting.
exploring, I love exploration for finding
All right, I'm
planets
done.
with
I'm
interesting
done.
terrain features.
Yeah.
Before
yeah,
I
that-
fall down
To
and
some
die,
extent, that will be limited in Star
and we'll have
Citizen.
picked all these for someone
It's
else.
possible, yeah. It very
Simply
much
because
is.
there's only going to be a number of planets, and everything will have been explored. Where in Elite things, you will be seeing
There's
them for the first
someone.
time.
There's one over here, but no.
Before anybody else.
Thank you,
rather.
Train, for saving
So,
me.
Yeah, interesting.
Before anybody else, but maybe
Yeah.
in Star Citizen it's still before anybody else that you know.
Mm-hmm.
So like Benny Henge is an example just in the fact that you don't even know about it, but
Sure.
you've been here for 6 months. So if they can continuously build these systems, for instance, let's say the cave system, right? It's a modular system. It uses the same system that the space stations do, and they can keep adding new rooms, new hallways
Oh,
that
yeah, I have to
make
go to
these caves
admin.
diverse. If they can continue to build these out on every planet they add into the game, that is a constant flow of new small things that nobody's going to find for 6 months, 8 months, 10 months. That could continuously be found by different communities.
Yeah.
Getting
and I
there,
think that's
getting
awesome
there.
Because, like, let's take Chris Roberts' previous game, Freelancer. A big
I'm
fan
gonna make
of that
another
one, too.
100,000, and
That
I will
already felt like a
be
big game, and that
over
was
$1 million.
kind of like we
So
were
I'll
talking
be
about
done.
that shift
I'm not
in
gonna
Star
keep doing
Citizen.
that.
That was
It's
the
getting
old way.
really
You
boring.
had a
I'm
planet
getting
that
really
you would
burnt out with it.
approach a portal, and you would have a cutscene, and suddenly you were on a little part of a planet. And even that felt
But it is nice
big
to do
with
this while
lots of
you're
things to
riding a
see,
train
you know, in
or
context.
quantuming far away.
So it can be that, and if they keep
Far
expanding
away.
on it, yeah, it can very well be something that just keeps expanding and keeps spitting out interesting things for
That
people
character's
to
got to
find for the
get
first
back
time.
on a train to go
It
to
can
admin
be.
after TDD.
That is, I guess that's the key word. But anyways, I'd like to now move on to get a little catch up with you on how the game's been treating
we're
you,
just gonna
and
keep
this
going
obviously
that
will roll
way.
over into a conversation about racing. But before we continue, I would like to say to anybody who's watching or listening, you can watch and listen this podcast live, as many of our supporters are doing here at Discord. It is a perk of being a supporter on Patreon.
And that's
You
gonna
keep
do
the
it.
audio podcast ad-free, and you get to watch this live and talk to our guests after and before. So if you'd like to, make sure to check that in the link down below. But since we are here talking about Star Citizen, let's continue. you've been here now. You've been playing since you said June is when you started?
Honestly, time flies when you're having fun. I've got no idea. It's been a while now, I guess. Just when Elite Dangerous Odyssey
Can't believe I've been playing since
Okay.
May
Nobody knows when that
2020.
is. That's when I kind of started.
Sometime last summer-ish. How
Yeah.
has your view of the game changed since then? Has it gone up, down, stayed the same? I mean, Star Citizen, not Elite.
Yeah, no, the same. So when I first came in and I started doing my video series, it was kind of like I was overwhelmed coming into Star Citizen because for someone that's new,
30
there is a
SCU.
lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
Big
information to
261.
take in.
You can't-
Not knowing the
Can't
names
complain
of anything,
about
not
that.
knowing how the fact that there's one star system
One
called
rock
Stanton
took
with
me
one
5
sun
minutes,
and a couple
if
of planets and
that.
a couple of moons and just learning about the locations, learning
Cannot
about all the
complain.
ships, learning about the rest stops.
I should
in
go
space,
right back
learning
out
about
there and do it.
The Lagrange points
I am
in
going
space.
to. Yeah, I
just
can't kill
learning all
myself
of that
because
stuff.
I have to go.
I set out to
Normally
do this
I
like
would
one bit at a
backspace
time,
kill
so I
myself and
started
go
with
back up to
space stations and just visiting all of them and just being
Everest.
a tourist and looking at all
But
the
I
things
gotta go
there were
sell
to
this
do,
Quantini,
and,
or
which then already blew me
sell
away.
these
And
gifts
then
for
you've got
several
people
thousand.
who have been here for a long time going like,
What's
dude,
in the
you're just
grand
looking at a
scheme
rest stop.
of
Go look at a city.
credits per hour? This probably
You'll
isn't
be
worth it,
mind
but
blown.
I'm about to
And so
end
I
this
took it
stream
one step
early
at a
'cause-
time, and every step that I looked at stuff,
Oh,
and,
late
when
start.
I saw new Babbage and I saw Wally's bar for the first time, I was just impressed.
Wally's
Not
bar.
until IAE did I learn that there is a back door into the commons. You can land your ship out on the ice and just go
Yeah.
into the ground, the
yes,
the ground vehicle terminal and
Little
just
shortcut.
Shortcut your way in, and
Not
then
even a
you
not
see all
so
these
shortcut
other
of
ships
all
parked
that
up there.
big
So
garage
it's like
down
this-
there.
To this date, it's like a constant. Something will surprise me in a positive way, and so it has only
It is
been
nice grabbing these gifts.
incredibly promising. I guess I said it stayed the same. No, it's only gone up, and I think the biggest thing for me, the biggest driver there, has been CIG's engagement with the community. Coming from Elite Dangerous, I always describe FDev, Frontier Developments, as a very old school managed company. Everything's very closed doors. I feel like community managers don't know what the devs are doing. The devs are not allowed to talk to anybody. We just had this, I say we, but it's not me anymore. I don't play Elite anymore, but Elite Dangerous just released their new Scorpion vehicle.
Right, I
and
saw
not
that.
not until the day before release did we get the first image. And if you compare that to a Star Citizen who is so open with their communication, we've got the
That's
weekly
funny.
Inside Star Citizen videos.
Most people complain
that have
about it
been
than anything.
going on,
I'm
just
okay
watching
with it.
them. You've got developers talking about what they're developing and explaining everything almost from a player's point of view, because at their hearts they're also just players loving their game and building it. And then you've got all these Discord communities nowadays where you have CIG developers
have a whole bunch
actively
of new windows you're
engaging
gonna
with
wanna
the
check
community,
out.
talking to them.
Yes. Stuff.
I mentioned this on stream yesterday as well. We were obviously doing the racing stream. You have
No, I'm done.
communities like Legacy Fleet who do so
Unless it's
much,
right in front of me, I'm not going out of my way to grab it.
Instructional stuff.
Yeah, instructional stuff, but also
Right in front of
data gathering. Like they have this massive Google sheet filled with all the vehicle datas that they've done in game, like acceleration data, shield data,
kinda
weapon
lost.
data, all that stuff. And if there is a question, there is active CIG developers
Doesn't
that will just talk
normally
to them.
come from
And
this way.
even then, like we just started
I'm a
this
little
XGR
lost. That's
racing
weird coming
Discord,
from
this,
over
this
there.
community that we're just
Yeah.
building out. And now we've got CIG developers joining us. We've got Yogi in there. Everybody's just having a good time and interested and excited for what we're doing. And it makes me feel like what we're doing helps shape the game because there is that interaction. That's
The
just a
old
huge thing to
admin
me.
office, please.
It really is a different experience. I keep hearing that, and I don't personally say that often because I've mostly only been this involved in a game once I met Star Citizen, or once I found Star Citizen. So
That ain't
I
3,500.
generally
How did I
tend
get
to
a half
defer
of
to
one?
people like you who have a lot more experience with
That's
other games.
weird.
But every time somebody talks about it, it just sounds like a different
Oh, because
experience.
you had
jumping
no.
into this.
I don't know why it went
and
there.
being able to be so close to not just the community but also the developers and the people who are running it. it, there are problems here and there. Obviously, there are breakdowns in communication sometimes. It's inevitable.
Look, I picked up more than that.
It makes all of us annoyed. But the fact that we have developers from the company who actually hop into this podcast and listen live,
I picked up more
or
than
like
that.
you said, go into Discord servers and enjoy events with people is huge. It's crazy big. If I had known, like I remember back in the Halo 3 days, you would be playing the game and you would run into a 343 labeled, or sorry, a Bungie labeled name, and you lose it because you're like, oh my gosh, somebody from Bungie is actually playing with us. But you wouldn't talk to them, you wouldn't party up with them, nothing like that. And now you can just like chill in a Discord room with these people and talk about the game they're making. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome.
They dropped the price.
Was it the last Inside Star Citizen video?
I'm done.
And I I feel terrible now.
They
What's his name
dropped
again?
the
His
price.
name is slipping from my mind. The
Jared?
community guy.
That's why no one's doing it.
He's doing Jared.
I'm done.
Jared.
Yeah, so Jared is doing, like, he mentioned how everybody
I'm gonna fill it up.
that was speaking with
That's
him
why no
about,
one's
it was one of
doing
the
it.
streams that did. And they were talking, oh god, I don't
They
remember.
went in and hot fixed it.
Excuse me, I'm all over
No,
the
it's fine,
place.
it's fine.
So it was just really cool to see Jared mention, like, we're all here just talking from our personal opinion. Like, I can tell you that I hate the Carrack. You know, I'm not taking a standpoint as the company. I'm just one guy who is permitted to speak his own mind, and I might say something that my company doesn't agree with. It doesn't matter. I'm speaking to you from my point of view, and everybody here talking to you, audience, is free to say whatever they want. And
I made all my money yesterday. That's why everybody's doing it.
It just makes everything so much more modern.
I still
age,
made
dude.
like
Things
25,000,
have
but
changed.
yeah.
They do.
F
Yeah, they
that.
definitely. I really enjoy when they treat us like adults. When they tell us some bad news straight up front, and we can tell, like, all right, like, I get that you guys are really trying hard to be transparent here. There was a time earlier this year, I think, people always used to say, oh, CIG always waits until after the sale to give bad news. Oh, CIG always gives the good news and then puts a sale up and then bad news. But I think it was earlier this year when they had some bad news and they gave it to us right before a sale. And, you know, that could be them trying to make it look like they're not doing that. Whatever. As, like, you could go as deep as you want. I respected that they made the effort to actually try and deliver that bad news in a timely manner. And I appreciate that, like you said, they can also give some opinions and be a little more open about how they're feeling about things, at least on a personal level.
That's interesting. For me, it's like, I don't know Star Citizen and CIG long enough to have an opinion, like, further back than, you know, these couple of months, these 6 months or whatever. Yeah. But it's like the contrast. So you'll have to stop me if I'm ranting. But so when Odyssey was in alpha, it was the first time that I got really engaged in providing feedback and sharing my opinion because things were going really bad and I was worried. The thing is, when Odyssey was announced, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going next level. I'm going to buy Virpil joysticks, dual stick. I'm going to buy a Reverb G2 VR headset, and I'm going to live in the universe. Like, I wanted to go next level. And then obviously it released in alpha, and then beyond alpha, it went straight into release, which everybody was very confused about. And there were 100 million problems. And I tried to share constructively my concerns, and I genuinely mean it. When I was open-minded, I had, prior to all of Odyssey, I had lots of contact with the community managers because we would do events together on their live streams, and we had a great relationship. Yeah. And it was service level, but there was interaction to make sure that we could come and join them and do fun stuff on stream. Mm-hmm. But then when shit hit the fan, I started being a little more critical and saying, like, dudes, you're ruining the game here. I'm really worried. And I would share feedback. I would make bug reports and kind of opens people.
I think Salty Mike ruined it.
People's eyes in terms of, guys, be careful. Look what they're doing. The planets look bad. The atmospheres look different. The handling of the vehicles have changed. Everything's going bad. It was always radio silence, and it was always very hush-hush and limited information, and that's the big contrast with CIG again. I was even banned from their forums because I was too vocal.
I've heard a little bit about that period of time. I've spoken to other people who are doing the same as you. In fact, we had one on our podcast who spoke a lot at length actually about these things, and it's honestly, it's a bummer to hear.
250.
And it's something that I
250.
definitely,
Ah.
I've realized very recently, like in the last couple of weeks. I was talking to a couple of the other creators here that covers Star Citizen regularly, that we do need to be the ones who are ready to start to say that kind of stuff about Star Citizen if that stuff does happen. And I really do think that they are going to be willing to meet us.
All right.
on
That's over.
You know, on those points, not shut us out, not shut us down. And I expect that from them because that's what they've shown in the past. It's
You
just,
know, I've got
good.
proof of that even, which is amazing. And I definitely don't want to, you know, sit on the high horse because this is not like, it's not because of me. But I did a video on
Enough of that.
the ship handling.
I was getting bored with it
what
anyway.
I think is
VTOL?
wrong with it and the things. No, so this was before VTOL.
Okay.
This was before the VTOL video. This was me raising a concern in terms of because I started playing in version 3.13 and then not short after that we had the release of 3.14, which did a lot to change
Now what to
the
do?
thruster strengths of the ships.
I think I gotta
Some
call it
became
early
stronger,
today.
some became weaker. And something that stood out to me immediately was how incredibly strong
I can always
the
start it
strafe
again from
up
this
had
exact
become.
spot. I am
So
at.
they obviously did this in mind having combat. They wanted to try and keep
Got like
people
17
tighter
minutes left.
together.
I am going to stop it
If
right
you have
here,
stronger
and real life is
vertical
calling.
thrusters,
Thanks
you
for
don't
watching. If
drift
you do
as
come
much
back and watch,
when you are.
this has
It
been
helps
fun.
avoiding that